As I've said previously, the start to this post was not the one we anticipated in November when I accepted. But you've just got to make do with what you've got. Thankfully, technology came to the rescue. My normal habitat is not sitting in front of a laptop for hours on end, but in these times we have to adapt and evolve. So my first few weeks were literally hitting the phone and the internet to get an idea of what was going on in the cluster. George, Nikki and Bill guided me to some organisations, but left me to fully explore the area virtually. The only exception to this routine was a day where I was given permission to have a run around the 3 parishes. That was the dawning of how large an area I was going to be covering, but it was also a consolidation of the information I'd gathered over the previous weeks. I gained an understanding of some of the difficulties that were in the area too. There were some projects which had been discussed before I came, and I had been asked to develop them. It was the chance to do that which attracted me to the post in the first place. Unfortunately, most of them could only happen once we were living with less restrictions. This is where the Lent challenges come in. This was something we could use to reach out to our communities. One of the most regular contributors to the Lego challenge were Liberton Primary, who submitted pictures most days. The teacher informed me one day that the challenge had encouraged a group of girls who wouldn't normally go near the Lego to join in. Knowing from my previous job in schools, I know how hard it can be to get girls into STEM subjects, which are science, technology, engineering and maths. And to think that a faith-based challenge has encouraged that is just amazing. A turning point at the end of January was Diaconate Council. As a deacon, I have a twice yearly commitment to attend our gatherings. January is usually a 1-day meeting and June is normally 3. Obviously, this is online at present. I'm also on the executive for the Diaconate Council. So I knew about the COVID grant and I knew it was going to be announced, but I hadn't really thought about using it up until that weekend. I had a few ideas and this would help finance them. Once, as a cluster, we'd agreed on the rough outline of the projects, I made an application and as you know, I was delighted that all 3 were accepted for funding. It came at the perfect time as restrictions were beginning to lift, and this meant I could comfortably start to travel a little easier. The Bags of Love at Douglas Valley came about from just talking to various folks from the congregation and also just some of the different organisations that are involved in the community there. It was decided that we could link in with Healthy Valleys Food Larder at Rigside. So we decided that we could make up some bags for children and some bags for adults. And as you can see from the photographs, what was put into them. There was some activity books, sweets, craft activities for the children, and some hot drink treats for the adults with some biscuits and some chocolate. The adult ones have been getting distributed to users of the food ladder who get their things delivered to them, and the children's ones are going to be distributed through the primary school at Rigside. I'll speak more on the community growing project shortly, but we were able to give out 105 growing sacks with some potatoes in them, 60 bags of compost, and in total 75 kilograms of seed potatoes. All 10 schools in the cluster have also pledged to join in on this project. As it says on the slide, every day is a learning day. Lifelong learning is an expectation both as a deacon and an MDS employee. Thanks to the use of the internet, it has never been easier to attend training all over the country. So far, I've attended webinars on the following: Outdoor Church, Introduction to Anna Chaplaincy. Our own Ministers Forum had a webinar series on life in the church after lockdown. There's been a couple of intergenerational church after COVID events that I've attended online. Also, eco congregations have had a couple of things I've been able to watch. And I've also completed the full Anna Chaplaincy course. A big part about this job is about building hopefully long-lasting links with various individuals and organisations. That's tentatively happening just now with Rigside Food Larder, who have asked me to come along on a more regular basis. And also they've now given me the opportunity to be involved in some of their walks which help and counteract social isolation. Also, both Douglas and Rigside Primary are keen for me to go into the school once restrictions are lifted and to be part of the life there. So that's the story so far. While we've been doing all of these things, there has been other ideas being developed. This is the beginning, hopefully, of a project aiming to help with food security and resilience in our cluster. It was inspired by an elder at Upper Clyde who became aware that there was very little fresh produce in food parcels. We'll see how this develops over the coming months. Ideally, we will be able to link into similar food growing projects throughout the Clyde Valley. The bereavement project is under construction at the moment. Yet again, it came from an idea of an elder. At present, we're trying to develop a resource library which will be available both to the community and to anyone who accesses the service. Healthy Valleys will help to promote this, as this has been an area they've been trying to look at, but just don't have the manpower to carry it out, and are fully supportive of what we're trying to do. Eventually, we will aim to meet in a couple of villages in the cluster each month, offering a drop-in and chat format. Farming chaplaincy is something which was already being looked at before I started. George and the others have laid a groundwork for this. And George encouraged me to get in touch with the Reverend Chris Blackshaw, who's the farming chaplain in Ayrshire and part of the Pioneer Ministries post sponsored by the Church of Scotland. Chris has such a deep passion and enthusiasm for his role. It's really infectious. Once we're allowed back into the mart, we hope to be able to go and start to do something with this project. I've also been trying to get links with other farming related groups like the National Farmers Union, Young Farmers, and even people like vintage machinery enthusiasts.